Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another edition of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board certified criminal defense lawyer. And this is our first episode back after, guess what? We lost our content genius, Michael Rivers, and I'm wearing the cufflinks, the pearl handle pistol cufflinks that were so graciously gifted to me by the content genius that you know as Michael Rivers. But on November 16th, we lost him to drugs. Now, in our last video, the very last video we did, he posted that, and there were a lot of really negative comments. A lot of people were saying stuff like, "Oh, he's wasted, blah blah blah. You should know it." You know, you don't think that was lost on me? I mean, of course, I knew that, but struggled for 12 years with Michael over drugs, bouts of sobriety, bouts of being in ERs. Bouts of being in ICU, bouts of going to treatment, refusing treatment. And he finally succumbed to, we got this autopsy report back. He was 6 feet tall and 127 pounds, guys. So let me just tell you a little bit about Michael. This episode is just going to be about the content genius, Michael Rivers. First of all, he didn't really like that moniker, the content genius. But somebody called him that, and I just thought it stuck. So we're going to go through some photographs, talk about some memories, talk about some things that, that I take away from his loss, but more things that I take away from the gift that he gave me in being my son. So we'll start out with a baby picture. This is Michael as an infant, and I remember the day that he was born. His mother and I were madly in love, and we were, as you know, if you're a fan of the channel, that we lost her to suicide in 2003, 22 years ago. And he never got over that. But I remember the day, when he was born, we didn't know if he was a boy or girl. And all of a sudden, she struggled and struggled and struggled through labor, and he came out and it's a boy. And I just screamed as loud as I could because I was so excited to have a son. And brought him home, and then he was my little buddy for the longest time. So he was my my partner in business. He was my friend. He was my son. We did a lot of things together over the years. And so let's just take a look at some of the photos throughout the years here. So there's Michael with his mother. These couple of photos here with our cowboy hats on. We were at a dude ranch. I'd take him to the dude ranch out in Colorado called the Black Mountain Ranch. And just the two of us, because we didn't have his mother around, right? And so, we'd ride horses, shoot pool, go on trail rides. We were on a camp out, and these birds would come up, and I put these little pieces of bread on Michael's foot, and the bird just would come up and he'd sit right on it, and very difficult to think about this, to be honest with you. So we went on a cruise. You see him see there's a picture of him with his 6-shooters at the dude ranch. And if you look at this last one here, there's a picture of him with a jacket and tie that I put on him. So when he goes to school, for his school pictures, I wanted him in a jacket and tie. I loved dressing him up. I absolutely loved, getting him like polo stuff. And then later on, you can tell that he did not dress the way I dress. He didn't have his hair coiffed the way I do. I mean, he was a totally different style. The other thing Michael and I did is, you can see there's a couple of him ski pictures here. Michael raced for a couple of years early on. And, I ski race. I do downhill, and it's just a beer league. But it's made me a much better skier. Well, Michael raced for a couple of years. Wasn't a super great racer or anything, but he certainly made him a hell of a skier. And he was fearless. And so we skied all over the place. We skied Breckenridge, and we skied all over the place. And he was just really just an amazing, amazing person. Here's a picture of him on my boat. We we drove. We spent a lot of time on the river together. It's one of my favorite pictures of Michael. He just looks so handsome and so together. You could see as he grew up, he got tall and thin. One of the things that Michael fancied more than anything else, and you can go see this on his Instagram, is he loved photography. He absolutely loved photography. And I think what I might do is, I think we might put some of his works on our website. He's got some incredible artwork that he did. And I think if we put some of that stuff out there, you guys might want to take advantage of that. So if you order it, we could print it out for you, frame it, and send it to you, or just send you an unframed copy too. But some of the art that he did was just amazing. He went to Guatemala when he was in college, spent about 10 days in Guatemala, and took over 4,000 photographs in Guatemala. And some of the things that he took, they're definitely artworthy. But that's who he was. One of the things that he did when he was at Augsburg College, it's Augsburg University now. One of the things he did at Augsburg, he got sober at Augsburg. Augsburg College has a program called Step Up. And it's a sober program, and I was kind of worried about that because, what is a college experience? Drinking beer, blah, 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 partying, But he really embraced his sobriety. That was when he was probably at his best, when he was in college. And they started a thing called Augsburg Knowledge, which was a program they had on Facebook, and they did game shows, and it was just, he got a 4.0. He was helping other people with homework. He was just incredibly bright. And, through all his troubles, those are probably some of his best years. We spent a lot of time together. And as you can see through these photographs, he was one of the kindest people I've ever met. But I will tell you, we struggled throughout the years. I mean, I can't tell you how many times he ran away. I mean, he hopped in his car and went down to Florida one time. And he was being bullied by another guy, and I said, well, leave him there. So he came back. He always came back, though. That was the one thing. He made him take it off. But all of a sudden, he would take off and then realize, I really shouldn't have done this. And then call me and said, Dad, I'm really sorry. But I just don't know why he would always take off. I love this picture right here. This is a picture where he's got his college sweatshirt on. He's at Augsburg in his dorm, and he looks that's Michael at his probably healthiest. I remember his very first year there. Halfway through this semester, I get a call that he was at the ER because he had overdosed on some derivative of Xanax, and I'm like, fuck, and the thing about it is, this was like the umpteenth time that because all through high school, we were taking him out of ERs. And I just looked at him and I'm like, what the hell? And I talked to the doctor and they said, is he going to be okay? And the doctor said, oh yeah, he'll be fine. He just has to sleep this off. I said, good, because I'm not going to be here anymore. I'm not going to do this anymore. And it was shortly after that he got into the Step Up program at Augsburg. And I love this picture because that's him being sober. That's him kicking ass in school and just figuring out, because one of the things that he didn't have was hope. So when he got kicked out of every high school he went to, and he was going through high school through a treatment facility, and he was down, he was depressed, didn't have hope, and all of a sudden I talked to the people at Augsburg, which is where I went. Just a little college here in Minneapolis, private college. And he was getting his GED instead of finishing high school because he didn't have a high school to fucking go to because he got kicked out for selling Xanax. I mean, he put an ad on fucking Facebook for selling Xanax as a junior in high school. What do I say here? Stop your fucking self snitching. And it was ridiculous. So he wound up being on probation, going through treatment, didn't finish high school. So this is like the fall of his, December of his senior year. decided to get his GED. Guess what? He did his GED in like 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, like that. And so he graduated from high school. I said, let's go see what Augsburg has to offer. Augsburg had the step-up program. All of a sudden, he got into Augsburg, even though he had no grades except for a good GED score to get in. And that was it. That was all he had. And but all of a sudden, he had some hope. He had some hope. You know, lack of hope creates desperation. And desperation creates despair. And if you have despair, you don't want to live. You know, you don't do anything. You know, you do drugs. You do, you know, you can't do that. Remember what I always tell you guys about building your relationships, building this, building that? Michael and I were building the channel, but he just couldn't stop doing the fucking drugs. But when he realized, oh, maybe there is hope for me, the light bulb went off. And all of a sudden, he decides he gets into college. And this picture right here represents hope. And here he is, on the day of his graduation, sitting on the Augsburg College sign, or university. And one of the proudest days of my life. Because that first year he got like a 2.5. And I was happy with that because he fucking showed up. You know, I was paying for college. Show up for college. But then after that, I think he wound up with a 3.5 or something like that, even after having that. So I would say he was on the dean's list almost every semester after that. Good photos here. I didn't realize it, but he was 6 feet tall. Never thought that he was that tall. Here's a picture. He's holding his wrist like this. I don't know what he's doing there in this photo, but that's a picture of he and I in Miami. He and I were in Miami for a podcast. We were on Fresh and Fit when we were basically early on, and he was just so excited because it was a recognition that all of a sudden, you know, our channel is doing something. You know, we have over 1.3 million subs now. You know, and this is all because of his work, his editing, his ideas, his content. So, you know, from the channel perspective, I owe a lot to him. But I was so proud of him, and I hope I told him every day. Now, this is in LA. This is a picture of Michael with his camera on Rodeo Drive. This is a picture where we went and did Adam, No Jumper. And then we had a blast. That was another big moment for him because, you know, No Jumper was or channel that he used to follow back in the day, and here we are now guests of that channel. And one of the things we did on that channel is I brought them a bottle of tequila. You know, whenever you're a guest from somewhere, you always bring a little something, right? At least I do. And then they made a little video at the end saying who we smoke, because that's one of the videos that I did. It was about who I smoke. You know, if you go back and look at that, that was kind of a big hit. But and they said they were smoking to Bruce Rivers. So that was just a big thrill for Michael.
Cheers. I smoke Bruce Rivers. Shout out to the only lawyer who ever gave me a $300 bottle of alcohol. Let's fucking go.
This is a picture of me and Michael in Portugal. We got an invitation from a fan to go to their wedding in Portugal. And this was last May. And I said, Michael, what do you say we go? And it was just on a whim that we went. And it was just amazing. We went there with our sweethearts, and we just had an amazing time. This is a picture of Michael and I together at a show that we sponsored. We sponsored a rap show here in Minneapolis, and just had a blast. And he's sober during all this. At least I thought he was. Michael and I again at work. I just love that boy. I really miss him. This is Michael and I showcasing his accomplishments. The two of us together at No Jumper. I loved him so much. So here's the deal. On November 16th, I knew something wasn't right with Michael. And I would have to check on him constantly. There was one incident back in March of last year where I couldn't get a hold of him. So I called his buddy Nick. And Nick went over to his house. He looked in the window and he sees Michael on the floor. And he broke in and calls an ambulance and takes him to the hospital. And he goes into ICU for 4 days on an overdose. His arm was fucked up because he had been laying on it. And Nick basically saved his life that day. And every day after that, and even before that, I would check on Michael just to check on him. In May, he crashed his car. We got him a new car. In June, he crashed his car again. I let him use my car. In November, he crashed my car and then overdosed. So what happened was, on the November 16th, we filmed an episode. And he was a little messed up. And he posted one of the videos. You could tell he's messed up. And he would always tell me, I'm not using. But he was on Suboxone, right? And he said, this is just an effect of Suboxone, which was bullshit. He was buying all these drugs on the dark web and having cocaine and whatever else they put in it shipped to his house. And then he was on muscle relaxers that he got from India. He was on this, he was on that. And I couldn't control it. And so, but I would always check on him. Michael, how are you doing? If I couldn't check on him, or if I couldn't hear back, then I knew something was wrong. And on the 16th, I went over to his house and I checked on him, and he seemed fine. And then I left, and then the next morning, I said, Michael, and he wouldn't respond. I went over to his house. We got a locksmith, and I found him on the bathroom floor with face down, lighter in his hand, purple face because all the blood was rushed to his face. His nose was white, dead. And there's no greater pain than the death of a child. There just isn't. I miss him terribly. And some of you guys commenting weren't the nicest, and you can say what you want. But I tried. And I was so proud of him, and I'm still proud of him. I just wish those drugs wouldn't have taken hold of him the way they did. He wouldn't go to treatment. He wouldn't stop doing drugs. And he was 127 pounds when he died. And in the autopsy report, the cause of death was a death by overdose of a multiple cocktail of cocaine, methamphetamine, and some derivative of Xanax. That's basically what was in his system. So, as hard as it is, I tried to keep tabs on him 24/7, but you can't. He was 27 years old. He was a grown-ass man making his own decisions. But he probably should have been committed civilly, honestly. So when you talk about the drug market, and drugs being a victimless crime, no, you know better than that. So this is just to give you an update as to where we've been. We had his funeral just that very next week. And I haven't said anything publicly until just recently because it's just been so fucking hard. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't tear up thinking about it. And I try not to think about it too much. I have his pictures all over the place. His computer's here. Look at all these fucking lights. This shit is in my office, And I just would come to the office and I'd see his stuff around and it would just drive me crazy. Because I physically, would get sick. I thank God that I have my daughter Jacqueline and my fiance Chloe to be there for me and other family members, and it's just unbelievable. So if you have somebody in your life that's doing drugs, keep tabs on them the best you can and try to get them into treatment. Treatment does work. And if you're doing drugs, fucking stop. just fucking stop, because you're hurting everybody around you. All right, we'll see you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your board-certified criminal defense lawyer with my pearl-handle pistol cufflinks that were so graciously given to me by a content genius that you know as Michael Rivers, my son, my pride and joy, and now my memory. And I'm just so grateful that he was in my life as long as I got to be with him. So we'll see you next time. We're gonna have a new show. We got new editors. All I gotta tell you is keep the ideas flowing and go to clrbrucerivers.com for merch. I think we're gonna try to put some art up there. I think that would be a good thing to do, because that would be a good tribute to him, and the proceeds from that will go to fund my daughter's college education. We'll try that. How does that go? That's not going right into my pocket. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Thanks for being there for me, guys.
Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. Bruce Rivers just broke down your case. He know all the charges that you about to face. You ain't coming home till 2058. That self-snitching gon' get you put away. 23-hour lockdown, please just let my God.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode, or not so fun-filled episode, of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Today we're reacting to some breaking news of a famous rapper that has passed away. But before we start, just like always, this is brought to you by eforms.com. That's eforms.com. If you need a legal form for any purpose whatsoever, anything you need, don't hire a guy like me. Don't do that. Go to eforms.com and they'll help you out no matter what. So check the link below. Now, here's the deal. Today we're reacting to the sad news that Kershnik Kari Bell, otherwise known as Takeoff, has passed away. Now, let's talk a little bit about who he was. He was an A-list rapper born in Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. So Takeoff is part of the Migos, and everybody knows who he is, right? Two-time Grammy Award winner, double platinum, sold more albums than just about anybody. He was really on the A-list. So Houston officials vowed to deliver justice in the killing of the rapper Takeoff, with the chief of police calling 28-year-old Atlantan, he's basically out of Atlanta, a peaceful man, and urging any witness to come forward. So we're going to react. There's a little bit of this. There's some cell phone footage that happened around the time. And my understanding is that he was caught by an errant bullet, not necessarily meant for him. And this is one of the things. Bullets do not discriminate. They don't know where they're going. They don't know how they're going to get there. But they just go straight, and they don't give a shit who's in front of them. So whether it's on purpose or accident, bullets don't discriminate. They don't give a shit.
Hold on, look.
So you see there's Takeoff and Quavo, part of the Migos. So we got some little fight going on. Don't exactly know what it's about. And all of a sudden, that's a lot of shots. That's at least 10 shots plus. It didn't look like Takeoff was part of anything. And here's the thing. There are so many young black men that are just dying these days. So many young guys like this. And he didn't do anything. I mean, not that we can see. But here's the problem. The Houston police are not finding anybody that's coming forward. And here's the thing. This doesn't fit his typical MO, right? Takeoff is not your typical drill rapper. He's not involved in the gang scene. The Houston police call him a very peaceful and productive member of society. And he was at a bowling alley and billiards hall when a private party was held earlier on Tuesday. 911 call received at 2:34 a.m. reported that shooting in progress, and the officers discovered Takeoff dead on the third level just outside of the front door. The Harris County medical examiner ruled Takeoff's death from penetrating gunshot wound of the head and his torso into his arm. Gun violence is just claiming too many rappers. It's like a rapper a freaking every month. Obviously, I'm reading this from an article, and the article says gun violence claims rappers gun violence has killed at least one rapper every year since 2018. We know that statistic is absolutely ridiculous because how many are there? I mean, I'm reporting on this all the time, and there's multiple ones per year. But at this event, there was like 40 people at the event, and a lot of them left out of fear because once you hear the pop, 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 guess what? People, flee like wildfire. Takeoff started making beats and developing rhythms in the 7th grade. So, I mean, he's been doing this a long time. And he didn't start producing music professionally until 2011. So, I mean, when you think about it, even though you think he made it out, made it out of whatever situation you're in, it's still kind of the culture is following him. The culture of violence is what I'm referring to. Takeoff's music label, Quality Control Music, had posted a statement to Instagram, and this is what they said. They said, with broken hearts and deep sadness that we mourn the loss of our beloved Krishna Karipel, known to the world as Takeoff. The label wrote in a message posted Tuesday night, senseless violence and a stray bullet has taken another life from this world, and we are devastated. The thing is, he grew up in this part of Atlanta. I mean, he's 28 years old, so he wasn't very old. So he still likes to go to the clubs and that kind of thing. And but he pulled himself out of a kind of a bad area of Atlanta or the suburbs. And it just goes to show you, unless you're careful, like super careful about where you are and what you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're armed or not. You can get hit by somebody not even trying to be in the fray. I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of advice. Nothing good happens after midnight. I know clubs are open till 2 a.m. I know there's after parties. I know there's this and that. And I might sound like an old fucking stuffy white guy, But you know what? Guess what? If he'd have gone to bed at 11:30 in his own bed, he'd still be alive. But I know what it's like. That the FOMO, fear of missing out on a party. But you want to live to fight another day, and it is just absolutely sad that one of the most beloved Migos and really one of the most beloved rappers, in modern times, is now dead because of senseless gun violence. And when you take a gun out, you take one of these things. When you take one of these things, and you fire it, you're responsible for whatever comes out of that end of that gun. Whether you're Alec Baldwin or whether you're somebody else, or whether you're one of these rappers on the street. And the laws of self-defense aren't always going to protect you. Now, I've heard the phrase 100 times, rather be carried by or judged by 12 than carried by 6. But you know what? If you use what's between here and here before you use this, before you go to that way, you can probably adjust your behavior so that you avoid situations like this. Now, I'm not saying that he did anything wrong, and I'm not victim blaming here at all. I'm just trying to give you guys some better advice on how to conduct yourselves, on how to, as you go forward in life, look out for situations like this. If it starts getting heated, fucking walk away. Your dick doesn't have to be so big to swing and hit the other guy in the fucking face, and all of a sudden he hits you in the face, and all of a sudden pop, 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 pop. You don't want that. You don't want that. And guess what? If you walk away, does that mean you're a fucking pussy? No, it does not. Why doesn't it mean you're a pussy? Because it means you're smart. I had a guy flip me off or cut me off, and I flipped him off, and we were doing this, back and forth, and he wanted to fight me, and I'm like, fight you over what? Over a slight? That's what these things generally start as, something really stupid. Sometimes they're more serious than that, but you can never lose by walking away. Be peaceful. Build. Learn to live another day. My message to all of you guys. You don't see women doing this, generally speaking. So this is just mostly to the guys there. You don't need to swing your dick. Walk away. Live to fight another day. Live to love another day. So this is our reaction to the breaking news of Takeoff, Mr. Bell, and the Migos. My heart goes out to everybody. My heart goes out to his family. And, you know, we're just going to have to keep listening to this shit over and over again until we really figure out how to avoid these situations, how to avoid senseless gun violence. So, love you guys. Make sure you subscribe here. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Patreon. You know, we're really building a good following on Patreon. And make sure that you look at our merch catalog, because we've got all kinds of good stuff. We got bucket hats. We got, I almost feel trite, with a death like this, hawking our wares.
Yeah. Don't promote it on here.
So, anyway, just follow us, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer React. We do not gun people down in the street and praise people for it. We just don't. That's not who we are as a people. Take your cue from Rodney Hinton Sr., a man that showed grace. Not this vitriol BS. This is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own, how lucky are you to have your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer here at your disposal on the channel we call Criminal Lawyer Reacts, so graciously gifted to me by our content genius that you knew as Michael Rivers, God rest his soul. Today we're reacting to Rodney Hinton Jr. and Ryan Hinton. I didn't really know about this case until our staff kind of told me about it, Robert and Nick. So this is a crazy, crazy set of facts. And I'm fresh off the plane from Ireland. I went and saw my sweetheart in Ireland. She was there, and that's why I'm wearing the Kerry Green and the Irish cufflinks from Weir's. And so we were in Dublin and hung out for a few days, and now I'm back and start a trial on Monday. It's a RICO trial, so and I'll be talking about that a little bit down the road. But so Rodney Hinton Jr. Let's talk about Ryan Hinton first. This is all over social media and all over the news. So this is a case out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Ryan was an 18-year-old kid, and he is sitting in a stolen car with three other young men who are, just kind of hanging out with guns in a stolen car. Guess what? That's a recipe for fucking disaster. Running from the cops is a recipe for disaster. Carrying a gun when you're a prohibited person is a recipe for what? Disaster. So that morning, police officers responded to a report of a stolen vehicle in East Prince Hill, which is just east of downtown Cincinnati. Officers approached the vehicle, and then, if you're going to steal a vehicle, make it fucking worth it. Why not steal, a nice Corvette? Have you seen the new Corvettes? They're nice. They look like a Lamborghini or Rolls Royce, go for the gusto. Not a fucking Kia. A Kia, Jesus Christ. So then they take off, and the officers pursue on foot and reported that Ryan had pointed a handgun, prompting an officer to fire multiple shots. Guess what happens if you point a gun at a cop? They're going to empty their clip into your ass, no matter how old you are. You could be a 6-year-old, and you're going to get shot. He was struck and pronounced dead at the scene, which is just fucking sad. Let me just tell you about the epidemic of young men with guns these days. It's just fucking sad. I had a case, my client just out joyriding with some friends, and he tells everybody, "Oh, you're gonna fucking die, pop, pop, pop," and he's just shooting it in the air, and he hits a 15-year-old girl. His life is done. Hers is over. If you're an auntie, if you're a mom, if you're a sister, and one of your young fellows is in your orbit, and you see him with a gun, take it and get rid of it. If you're a dad and you see your son with a gun, because guess what they're doing also? There's another case that just got charged out where the parents are now being responsible for the guns that the children have. It's just fucking disaster. All right, that's my rant for today, I guess. Let's see. So 2 pieces of misinformation. Some people on Twitter are claiming that the car wasn't stolen. Well, it was. They're saying it was just behind the payments because of this vehicle was reported stolen. No, it was incorrect. There's limited information, but the reports are that the car was stolen, and the 3 other people that were in the vehicle were arrested and charged with receiving stolen property. According to news reports, Cincinnati police have confirmed that the 3 suspects who are alleged to have taken part in the auto theft, ultimately leading to a fatal shooting of an 18-year-old Ryan Hinton, have been arrested. Police confirmed that Jarrell Austin, 18, and DeAnthony Bullocks, 19, were arrested on Thursday in connection with the car theft. A third suspect, Grigsby, was also confirmed to have 18 years old, was also being taken into custody Saturday morning. Here's the thing. Guess what happens when you're 18? You know everything. You're the smartest guy in every fucking room you walk into. But guess what you don't know? Nothing. You don't know jack. This drives me nuts. These guys should be in college or trade school or working on building. What do I tell you? What do I tell you? Every young man out there. And, the women sort of get this figured out, right? We don't see women carjacking people. Not this is a carjacking, but we don't see women running around with guns. I never see that. Why? I think when you have the position where you have to protect your womb because you could get pregnant, you have more of a self-preservation sense. They don't want to hurt themselves. These guys are so fucking stupid. They run with their dicks hanging out and their guns hanging out, and they're just dumb as shit. And it just makes me so, and not every guy is like this, by the way, but these young guys without guidance or without whatever, what are they doing in a stolen car with guns? Let's just start there. It's like when you have a case, and let's say it's a really bad abuse case, you're starting out in a hole. These guys are starting out in a hole, because they're running around 18 years old with guns. And they're younger than that in some of the gang cases. They're like 14, 15, 16. Both Austin and Bullocks are being charged with receiving stolen property and obstructing official business. The receiving stolen property charge is a felony, while obstructing official business is a misdemeanor. This came after the group was alleged to have stolen the Kia that they found parked in Englewood, Kentucky. Now, Englewood, Kentucky, Cincinnati and Kentucky are right next to each other. This led police to later track the car down to the parking lot of an apartment complex in East Price Hill around 10 a.m. on Thursday, where the four men were found to be sitting inside the car. It ain't cool to be carrying guns. I know you think you're cool when you're walking around, you're always packing, never lacking, right? But it's not cool, because guess who's dead? Ryan's dead. Ryan's dead, and it's a senseless death. It's not like you guys had some great scheme and, all of a sudden you were, if you make it, you got $100,000 sitting there because you stole a cool car. I had another car theft case, really a bad case, a carjacking case. By 9 a.m., my client and several others had stolen like 3 or 4 cars. And then they put all this shit on fucking Snapchat. And they're flexing on these high-end cars that they stole. It was the dumbest thing ever. Oh, God, I just want to take these young guys and just say, okay, go over here, get an education, do your shit. Fuck. Drives me insane. So they were both booked. Both Austin and Bullocks were booked on Thursday, and then the other guy, Grigsby, he was picked up on Saturday. And then Austin is also facing armed felonious assault in another case. Where are the people that's supposed to care for these young men? It drives me crazy. I'll tell you where they are in a second, where his dad is. On social media, it's often been said that Ryan was unarmed at the time of the shooting. So here's the thing. When everybody's got a little bit of information, people go crazy. Oh, and then the social cybersphere just goes crazy with misinformation. But Ryan did have a gun, according to the police. And that's if we trust the police. I trust but verify. The gun hadn't been fired. It had a loaded extended mag in it. So this is the gun that they found. Is it a 9mm? What is that? Yeah, it's a Glock 23 5.4 caliber. Or 40 caliber. It's a 40 caliber Glock. Tell me why a teenager needs that. Is it because of the neighborhood and it's so dangerous? Blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. I hear that all the time. And some neighborhoods are like that. In fact, I'm trying a RICO case starting Monday where, they took 45 guys off the fucking street. And my guy was just shot 5 times. It's a dangerous world out there. But if you make a habit out of avoiding situations, you don't need a gun. Because you can just be smarter than that. There is body cam footage. And according to the body cam footage, the cop says, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. He's got a gun on your right. An officer can be heard saying that. Officer fires 4 times and Hinton was hit twice. Once in the chest and once in the arm. And only 7 seconds of the video was released. So the next morning, I mean, I've lost a son, so I know what it's like to lose a child. And it's not a fucking fun club to be in. Anybody that wants to be a member of that club, they can go fuck themselves. Because it's just not a fun club to be in. But Hinton's father, and it's just, sometimes when you're dealing with grief like this, especially when you're dealing with something like this, because it's so avoidable at the hands of the cops. So Ryan's father, along with his family members, arrived at the police station to view the body cam footage. And his father was just so distraught after seeing the footage. So let's watch a little news clip from that.
Here today, a homicide detective shared a new detailed timeline of Rodney Hinton Jr.'s alleged actions before crashing into Deputy Henderson. WCPO 9 News reporter Jay Shakur walks us through it.
Here's what we know right now about Rodney Hinton Jr.'s movements on Friday. A Cincinnati police detective said on May 2nd, shortly after 9:30 that morning, Rodney Hinton Jr., along with family, viewed body camera footage of a Cincinnati police officer shooting and killing his 18-year-old son, Ryan Hinton, the day.
Now take a look at that. He's not coming after the officer. I think there's a problem with this shooting, honestly. He may have a gun, but he's not, doesn't look like he's firing at the officer. It looks like he's trying to get away. And I have a problem when cops shoot you when you're trying to get away.
The day before, police say officers found Ryan and 3 other young men in a stolen Kia. When police arrived, the 4 men ran. Police ran after them.
And officers say Ryan had a gun and it was pointed toward an officer who shot him twice, killing him.
The footage, which is a bit blurry at times, shows the shooting and Ryan falling to the ground. Police then say after reviewing that body cam video shortly after 10:30 a.m., Rodney leaves Cincinnati Police's Criminal Investigation Sections Unit's parking lot. Police say he left this first time upset and unable to drive. Family members describe him as
agitated, to say the least. How would you feel when you're going to watch the death of your child? This is the death of your child. I mean, who wouldn't just go fucking berserk?
agitated. Witnesses tell police he went to a couple of different locations, then returned to the parking lot around 12:40 p.m. They say Hinton came back to pick up a car left behind, and then for a second time,
He actually left the parking lot, followed by some family members, and then a few minutes later returned to the parking lot at CIS, drove through the parking lot, and then left the parking lot again.
Now, authorities say that final exit occurred at 12:49 p.m. Just 11 minutes later, police say Hinton plowed right into Henderson, who was operating a traffic light at the intersection of Martin Luther King Drive and Burnett Woods. A detective on...
So, why don't you tell me how that helps anybody? Eye for an eye, I suppose. You know, you take one of mine, we're going to take one of yours. And then guess what? I'm sure Rodney's got other kids. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I would suspect he does. How good are you going to be to your kids after going to prison for the rest of your natural life? Zero.
On this case claims video footage shows Hinton first stopping in a left turn lane before increasing the car's speed.
The vehicle accelerated quickly directly at where Deputy Henderson was standing.
Cincinnati police have not yet identified that officer who shot and killed Hinton's son. Prosecutors say they believe that Rodney Hinton Jr. just, quote, ran over the first officer he saw.
What do you make of that? I mean, you had the moral high ground. You don't anymore. Because I do think that there's issues with this shooting. So the person that was hit and killed was Deputy Henderson. He worked for the county sheriff's office for 33 years, retired 5 months ago. He was working on special duty that day as a traffic detail at the University of Cincinnati's graduation day. Unbelievable. What the fuck? Honestly. You know, you've got a tragic death of this kid, and now you take one of theirs. I mean, is that the way we're working life now? I mean, honestly. So Ronnie went to court, and let's see what the news is about his court appearance. Before we get to that, we're brought to you today by our loyal sponsor, AskALawyer.com. AskALawyer.com is an incredible way to, if you have a case
or you think you might have a case, go to askalawyer.com. They have lawyers on standby for $49. You can get kind of an analysis on the next steps. Maybe they tell you don't have shit. Maybe or maybe they tell you this is the next step. You've got to go forward. So it's a really good way to get analysis. They also have an AI component to their site. So if you want to do your own legal research, AI can help you with that. For all the 50 states, they've got it trained on that and the federal statutes. So go to askalawyer.com, same people that brought you eForms and eSign. They've been such a great, loyal sponsor to our channel over the years, and we appreciate them, so show them some love. All right.
That breaking news, the man charged with murdering Hamilton County Sheriff's Deputy Larry Henderson has been denied bail. Thank you for joining us at noon. I'm Megan Mitchell.
And I'm Stephen Albritton. This morning's bond hearing for Rodney Hinton Jr. showed a lot of emotion during and after the court proceedings. We're leading the way with live team coverage. Brian Hamrick breaks down what happened in court. Our Jock Maluka joins us with how emotions ran high during that hearing. And our Todd Dykes has reaction from the sheriff after the hearing. Let's start with Brian Hamrick with that judge's decision. Brian.
Yeah, Stephen, what was an emotional tornado inside the Justice Center here. You have deputies who just lost a friend.
When you kill a cop, you're a special person. You're not going to get any kind of favorable treatment from a jailer. You might in prison, from fellow inmates, they might think but they're going to also probably think you're a dumb shit for doing this, honestly.
Co-worker in the same room with the family of the man who is accused of killing him. Now, just a matter of seconds after Rodney Hinton Jr. entered the courtroom, an outburst. A man came to the front claiming he was Hinton's brother, trying to get his attention. This is what happened.
Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat, sir. Sit down.
Yeah, that's good. Smile and wave for the cameras. See, when I tell you, these deputies aren't fucking playing. You want to, when you flee from a cop, their dander gets up. When you shoot at a cop, their dander gets up. When you kill one of theirs, their dander is up.
Yeah, now the outburst goes on. Hinton is escorted out of the courtroom. They finally get things under control, and Hinton returns to the court for this hearing to hold him on no bond. It's a special hearing. It requires evidence to be presented. A prosecution called a Cincinnati police detective who said Hinton had been at the police station to meet with the chief and to see body cam of police from the day before. That body cam showed officers shooting Hinton's son, Ryan Hinton, to death. And it came as they stopped the stolen car after leaving that scene and seeing this video.
So what kind of defense does Rodney have? I suppose you could probably say that heat of passion, I don't know that it's murder one necessarily, because maybe he just saw the cop and spur of the moment, and he had just seen the murder of his son. Does seem like a revenge killing, though.
The detective said Hinton was very emotional. Family didn't even want him to drive home. He didn't, but he came back later to get his car, and then he headed to the area of the UC campus where...
And look at the defiant attitude. Give me a fucking break. That's not going to play well anywhere. It's just tragic all the way around. And I can't say that I wouldn't mow down a cop like that, because I'd probably just go drown in a fucking bottle of scotch or something. I would be beside. I have, you lose a child, it's so fucking disheartening. It's an amputation, honestly. It's, especially if you're close. It's there's that person that used to be there. I used to see my son every fucking Saturday, and we'd talk every single day. And he would come into the office, and, that's not there anymore. I'm sure Rodney, was close with his son. And you know, and now that person's not there anymore. That muscle memory, that heart memory. But fucking A, you don't mow somebody down to take revenge.
Deputy Larry Henderson was directing traffic for the UC graduation. The detective said Hinton picked out the first officer he saw and accelerated toward him.
Through the intersection, directly at where Deputy Henderson was standing, struck Deputy Henderson and the metal utility pole on the northeast corner of the intersection.
Okay. Were there any evidence of skid marks?
No, there were no indications at any point that he tried to brake, stop, or otherwise avoid Deputy Henderson.
I think the conduct in question is classic mental illness criminal conduct. It's always intentional, it's bold, it's conspicuous.
I don't know that...
That's a hallmark sign that somebody is not in their right frame of mind, no attempt to deceive, no attempt to hide what they did.
I do agree with this defense lawyer, but it's not a fucking excuse. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was Clyde Bennett. That is Hinton's attorney. He made no secret that he's going to use mental health as part of his defense in this case.
Mental health is the only defense he's got.
And in the end, he didn't even argue with the idea of not having bond for Hinton. In fact, the only thing he requested was that he gets mental health while he's in the Claremont County Jail. Reporting live, Brian Hamrick, WLWT News.
So that's the first thing I would do is I would get a psychological evaluation and see what I can do about getting some kind of heat of passion, enhanced manslaughter. But you're dealing with a cop. And one of the things that, you know, the prosecutor has as a client, law enforcement, right? So they're prosecuting this case and they're going to have the sheriff in their fucking ear, you know, that's just bullshit. You can't do this. You can't, you know, and so he's going to have that. And it's very tough for that prosecutor to settle this kind of case. So let's take another look at the conduct of the people in court.
Mr. Bennett, at the prior hearing before today.
Okay, knocking on the window is not a good idea.
Sit down!
Get your hands off me. I mean, you can't do that. Especially, you look behind you. Look at all these fucking white deputies. I mean, I just wouldn't do that.
He's out of line! Under the color of law! He's out of line! Acting under the color of law! Acting under the color of law!
What a fucking mess. What a mess. So when somebody's in jail and you're going to visit them in court, hopefully you don't get wrapped up, so you go to jail too. I can see about 3 or 4 felonies occurring as we speak. And a shit ton of misdemeanors. Looks like just another Saturday night at my house. There's been a lot of backlash on this case, so let's kind of look at what the social media traffic has been. Facing an aggravated charge, a murder charge for prosecutors say is an intentional attack that killed a retired Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy, Rodney Hinton Jr., appears to tell deputy that he's going to be gone forever, as he was escorted from the court after being denied bond. Let's see what he has to say.
Thank you, Yoda.
No, thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
Just tragic. I mean, what's your, you can't help how tragic this is, and he's just not in his right mind, honestly. But that's not an excuse.
I'm Rodney Hinton Sr. I want to give the condolence out to the officers that got killed, my whole family. I'm asking for forgiveness, and I've been praying hard for the officer that killed my grandson. I've been praying hard for him and his family because I know he's hurting off this.
That is the way you do it. This is the grandfather. This is the way you do it. You don't mow somebody fucking down, and all of a sudden you take yourself out of the game. You know, you can no longer be a parent. You can no longer be a husband. You can no longer be a provider.
I seen in the video about my grandson, I seen two scared people. I seen the officer scared, and I seen my grandson scared. So it's an unfortunate incident that happened. So that's all I seen. It was like, I didn't see the police there try to kill. No. What I seen was two persons made a mistake. My grandson made a mistake being there, and the officer, he was trying to get back to his family too. So that's what I seen. So it's not about revenge.
That's measured, that's thoughtful, that is caring. You remember when the church, I think it was South Carolina, that guy came in and that little pipsqueak came in and killed all those people? And what was their reaction? Grace. That was, forgiveness. This is a man showing grace. This is a leader here.
Anything, I have nothing against nobody. My Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ, and I represent Him. So, with that said, please, everybody, just try to forgive everybody who done anything to anybody.
Where are voices like this? This is how people should be. Absolutely. As opposed to the social media dumpster fire, there's just so much commentary out there. I don't want to go into a lot of this, but going to support your family member and catching cases is the dumbest shit in the world. No defending the stupid behavior. You won't win. Even if you're right, you won't win. You will lose. I totally agree with that sentiment. And this is from Sabby Sabs. Ryan Hinton's back was turned when he was shot by police. Look at the smoke from the gun. Ryan is not pointing a gun at the officer. That's true from looking at the footage that we saw. All I'm saying is if a cop killed my son, I'm airing out the precinct. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of stuff. Rodney Hinton Sr., the guy we just saw speak, that's what we need, not more of this airing out. And Rodney Hinton Jr. is not a hero. That's it. When you watch body camera footage, Ryan Hinton clearly did not point a gun at the Cincinnati police officer. Those types of I'm white and I say so lies are always used to justify unaliving black youth. And that's why Ryan's father, Rodney Hinton Jr., crashed out after he saw the footage and realized the police lied about what really happened. This is a glaring disparity in how people praise Luigi Mangione compared to how they're talking about Rodney Hinton Jr. Really? No one that has their head together is praising Rodney Mangione. Who's ultra liberals are praising him. Idiots are praising him. We do not gun people down in the street and praise people for it. We just don't. That's not who we are as a people. Take your cue from Rodney Hinton Sr., a man that showed grace, not this vitriol BS. Let's see. We'll just do a couple more of these. There was no reason for so many cops to be at Rodney Hinton Jr.'s court appearance. If anything foul befalls Hinton Jr. once in the system, the cops are to blame. Yeah, there's absolutely a reason for them to be there. Look what happened. All right, enough of that. Let's see. So there's a GoFundMe for Ryan Hinton's memorial, and apparently they've raised $64,000. I mean, so what? People want to donate, so what? If the family wants to use that for whatever the fuck they want to use it for, so what? They'll probably use some of it for a defense fund for senior or for junior, and they'll probably use some of it for a funeral, but so what? And it's kind of been asked that there are parallels between this and like the Carmelo Anthony case or the white lady who called the kid the N-word, I mean, did she have a GoFundMe? What an idiot.
It got up to like $600,000 or $700,000.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I want a GoFundMe. What can I do wrong to all of a sudden get a GoFundMe? I mean, give me a fucking break. No, I think this is a set of unfortunate events that is absolutely so fucking sad. I mean, you take 3 people out of the game. You got the deputy taken out of the game. You got Ryan taken out of the game. You got Rodney Jr. taken out of the game. And you got the 3 other young men that were in the fucking car. Guess where they are? Oh, they're in jail or facing jail. I mean, all because what? Because they were in a stolen car with guns. I'm telling you, if you're a mom, if you're an auntie, a grandma, a sister, if you're a dad, a brother, an uncle, you see these young guys, 15, 16, 17, 18 with guns, take it away from them and punch them in the throat. So you don't, I'm kidding, don't really do that. But get their fucking attention. This is serious business. I mean, we need strong black men. I'm just telling you straight up. We need strong black men who have good jobs, education, foresight, a plan to show these young men the way. We absolutely do. So men, fucking, you're up to bat. Don't drop the fucking ball. Ugh. People think I'm anti-gun. Look, I got a gun right here. I'm not anti-gun. I'm anti-young kids with guns killing each other. That's what I'm anti.
Post might ruffle a few feathers, but I'm okay with that. I just hope you are. So are we supposed to just act brand new because now there are people sympathizing, playing victim while Rodney Hinton Jr. rots in a cell for doing dumb shit? Let's be real for a second. Supporting what he did, that's not activism. That's willful ignorance, wrapped in performative outrage. And y'all standing around screaming free him like he just got hit with a bogus charge over a bag of weed. No, he purposely executed someone who wasn't responsible for the death of his son. That's not just stupid, that's a whole new level of brain dead loyalty. You're not standing for justice, you're standing for misguided vengeance that literally made everything worse. And worse yet, you'll be the first one screaming when a cop does do the wrong thing. And I get that part, but yet here people are justifying killing one who didn't. That's not woke, that's wildly hypocritical. It wasn't a setup, it wasn't injustice, it was a conscious grown-ass decision that came with grown-ass consequences. But y'all love to act like consequences are optional if the person shares a high melanin count. And before y'all can even go there with that, melanated is not exclusive to black folks. It's not a racial membership card.
That's true. When we sanction this kind of conduct that Rodney Hinton Jr. did, I will temper it a little bit because he probably just went fucking berserk, honestly. I don't think he was, it seems like a spur of the moment, rash decision, but his actions in court and his defiant attitude in court makes it seem a little more calculated.
It's a biological compound found in every human on the planet. And here's what's wild. The same people standing with him aren't even going to walk into the courthouse, not going to put money on his books, not writing them letters, not going to check in on his family, but you'll sure run your mouth on social media and hashtag for your support. And let's also not forget the part where none of you are going to be his fucking roommate. You're not going to give up your freedom. You're not signing up for that sentence, I bet. You're not going to trade your cozy ass Saturday morning brunches for lockdowns and strip searches. You're not down like that. You're just loud like that. So let's call it for what it is. Hypocrisy dressed up in Sunday's best. You want to stand up for something? Cool. Stand up for smarter choices. Stand up for growth. Stand up for accountability. But don't you dare twist your empty ass words into support when what you're really doing is enabling the next idiot who thinks reckless behavior deserves a fan base instead of a felony. If you're not willing to do the time with him, shut the entire fuck up about it. Stop defending the crime. Because that shit, that ain't justice. It's just noise.
I couldn't agree more. That was the most eloquent thing I've heard in a long, long time. So here's the long and short of it. I mean, does he have a defense? Does Rodney have a defense? I suppose he does. And the defense would be, probably diminished capacities, not necessarily insanity, but some kind of heat of passion. But if you call it revenge, then what is it? Then it's more calculated. It's a more like murder one. And here's the thing about murder one. Murder one is premeditated murder. where you intentionally kill somebody and have a plan to do so. Malice aforethought, that's what it's called. And that can be formed in an instant. You know, when he left that parking lot, he didn't have to have a plan right then and there. When he's sitting there at a red light and sees the cop directing traffic, his desire to kill that officer right then and there is all the premeditation that you need. So it can be formed in an instant. So he's going to look at life without a doubt. Well, aggravated murder is something that they typically do for the death penalty. And this is the death of a cop. So, and I don't know if, I think Ohio does have the death penalty. So if we're generous, this is Robert's thoughts here. If we're and he's one of our editors. If we're generous to say that Ryan Hinton didn't aim a gun and he was shot in the back while running away, then that is bad. Oh, wow, Robert, good job. And it could have been a good opportunity to rally the community, to have dialogue about police violence. What his father did, however, was put attention on him and his actions. It all became much less sympathetic and a disservice. Couldn't agree more. What are we talking about now? Are we talking about police reform? Are we talking about police misconduct? Are we talking about training? Are we talking about Ryan? No, we're not. We're talking about Rodney and the fucking bad decision that Rodney made to kill somebody else. When you detract from the original mission here, and the mission is justice, right? Rodney really could have had a platform for positive change. But instead, he went fucking berserk and decided to take out a cop. My heart goes out to the family and the two people that you just heard from, that TikTok that we just showed you, and the grandfather. We need more men like that in our community. More men speaking wise. Guys, take those fucking guns away from the children. Honestly, they don't need them. They think they do. And if they're walking around with their pants on the ground and all that shit, and they're not going to school, do what you got to do to get their attention. I have to confess, I didn't hear about this case until our staff brought it up to me, but this is just not rocket science. So when we look at what Rodney now is facing, I have to confess, I didn't look up whether or not Ohio has the death penalty, and no one's talked about the death penalty in this case yet. Why don't we just find out? So Ohio does have the death penalty, but it's been put on hiatus by the governor until they can find a replacement for the injection. Apparently, there's no death penalty on the table for Rodney at this time. He certainly is looking at life without parole. And what are his defenses? Just mental health defense, that he just went berserk, and so you have diminished capacity, heat of passion, that kind of thing. But watch, I had a case once where my client went out he got drunk one morning, and he was stressed out by work and family and all this shit, and he just was depressed. Gets drunk one morning, goes to Walmart, buys a rifle, and goes into a field, and he starts shooting it, and tells his 15-year-old daughter, call the cops because your dad's going to die today. He wanted to die by suicide by cop, right? Why the fuck would you do that? Just go in the field and shoot yourself. That's what you want to do. I don't recommend it, but getting other people involved in your demise is just not nice. And so guess what happened? So she calls the cops. The cops shut down the highway because his house was right on the highway. And he fires 2 shots at a cop. And the cops are inside his barn, kind of like, and then his gun jammed, and they didn't fire back at him. So he was charged with everything under the sun. And I got him probation because it was diminished capacity. You don't think those fucking cops went ape shit because of the sentence that I got him? It was all mental health. It was all, nobody died in that case and nobody was hit. That's the big difference. And the judge was really courageous because he got such a backlash from the police on that. Anyway, so that's our reaction to the Hinton gentlemen, who are now one's in the grave and one's on his way to a long-term stay at the Ohio Hilton Inn. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Make sure you sign up for Patreon. And if you do, and a paid member, you get a free lovely Stop Self-Snitching hat. Sign up do all the stuff that I ask you to do every time. And go to CLR Bruce Rivers. We got some new merch. And so Facebook, subscribe, Twitter, everything. We're out there. Go to askalawyer.com. See you next time on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, coming to you with my pearl handle pistol cufflinks, so graciously gifted to me by our content genius, Michael Howard Rivers, who's right behind the camera as we speak. That's where I get all my guidance from. That's where I get all my love from. Gotta love Michael Rivers. Okay, today we're going to react to Andrew Tate. As you all know, Andrew Tate is in custody, basically. He's on home confinement in Romania. And he's going to come up on his trial pretty soon. And so they just appealed another judge's order to try to get him out, get rid of the home monitoring. And it was denied. Before we get to that, I want to tell you a little story. My grandmother, she lives in my basement, and she actually does a lot of meth. And she was arrested, about 6 weeks ago. And, well, Grandma, she was in custody and in another state. And so she had to get a lawyer. And guess what I had to do? I had to call a lawyer for her. And I'm not going to go to that state, because Grandma's got problem after problem after problem, and it's constant with her. So I did hire a lawyer for her. I went to esign.com. If you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month. Grandma now has the best of the best lawyer, but she's in with the cartel. So I don't know what's going to happen with Grandma. But guess what? Because of eSign, she was able to get out on bond. So eSign.com, it's a very effective way to remotely do business. We eSign the bond for her. We eSign the retainer agreement. And actually, I'm kidding. My grandma is dead. So, but if I did have a grandma and she was a meth addict, she could eSign a retainer very easily. I use it all the time when somebody can't sign a retainer in person, or it's just more convenient for them to remotely sign a document. You can use a power of attorney or any kind of agreement, business agreement, any kind of document that requires a signature, esign.com, because if it's not eSign, no one signs. All right, let's get back to the task at hand here. Now, Andrew Tate is innocent, right? He's innocent. Well, one of the things that we got is the transcribed order of the court, and it's like 88 pages long. It is really remarkable when you read the reasoning of the court, and embedded in this document is also a lot of text messages or WhatsApp messages. So let's just kind of go through some of these. Now, sex trafficking can be caused by, conduct that is either force, fraud, or coercion. And the big one here is fraud. It was shown the fact that the injured person, UA, and in this, they take the last name first and then the first name second. So UA, her initials are actually, we would put him as AU, but she was recruited by the defendant, TA, Andrew Tate, by misrepresenting the intention to establish a relationship of marriage or cohabitation and the existence of false feelings towards the injured person also result from the conversations. So you're enticing somebody to come and you make promises of marriage, promises of you'll be mine, blah, 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 blah. That is a form of fraud, and it's a form of manipulation. And it's one thing if it's just, I don't know how to put it. If it's just normal, it just didn't work out. But that isn't what we have here. So let's just read the manipulation that we're talking about. You must understand, this is from Andrew Tate, and it's identified as E. You must understand that once you are mine, you will be mine always. A woman never leaves her man. I will be the last man in your life. See how those they're very absolute. What do we do if we fall in love and I kidnap you and bring you to Bucharest? And then she says, I don't think it's kidnapping if I want to come. So they're vulnerable to begin with because they want to be next to this greatness, right? First, I have to see in your eyes that you will never be able to live without me. So you see how this manipulation is? And these are much younger women. And then I can trust you to show you everything. Bring a ring when you come. That's what she says. You can be loving enough to be a wife, to always be near me wherever I go, talk to 0 men besides me, Ride or die. You have to move to Romania with me to keep an eye on you. You are mine. Don't forget that. And act like it. We will be together soon. First of all, ladies, any guy that talks to you like this, they need to be flushed down the toilet. What do you mean? I act like one. You should know what that means. To be a good wife. I have said many times that you should live in Romania, and you have comment ignored, whatever that means. Okay, I'm coming with you, girl. That's my girl. Give me a few hours to make a serious plan. She says, baby, but can I trust you? Yes, you can. You will move to Romania with me. Plan when I get there. All right. So the court says at some point the injured person, UA or AU, saw several videos on the YouTube platform in which the defendant talks about what he does and from which his approach to women results, and asked the defendant questions about these aspects. Now, this is important because this is where he kind of, has to kind of cover up what he's doing, right? Because this isn't just all open and above board. And anybody that follows him, any of you young guys who have paid money to Andrew Tate, listen to how he talks about you guys. He says right off the bat, you're not stupid, and you probably guess how I make so much money. I have to hide what I really do. Webcam, she says. For a long time, I did this with a team of girls who worked on video chat. The company was fake. Yes, but that's how I wash my dirty money. After that, men started to be jealous and started asking how I can start a video chat business. They will never do this because they are losers. They're losers. But they like the idea. So I started charging men to teach them. Dudes, he's full of shit. He's 100% full of shit. And these are text messages between he and you or UA. But they like the idea. So I started charging men to teach them. That's what those videos are about. It's all a cover. You understand? Now it goes deeper. Some of the girls worked for me. I used them to do other things, to move money or illegal things, documents. So there's two things going on here. Number one, he's got the illegal activity, whatever it happens to be, whether it's money laundering, selling drugs, or whatever. And then he's also defrauding these women out of half of their earnings. Then we also have him defrauding this person, among others. This is not the only person talking like this. And then he tells her, I will never do that with you. But I need those girls for work. Sometimes money stuff, when I said earlier, I need a woman to not hide things from. That's what I meant. And so now he's bringing her into the fold. I can trust you. You're my confidant. If you know the girls, I want you to be really cool with them. You are on my team to help me. You don't need details of any of this. What I want to do is trust me and do as I say. So right there, you've got an admission, and you've got one of two things. Either he's lying, if he's telling the truth, then he's admitting to criminal conduct right there, and it goes on. But if he's not telling the truth, then he's defrauding her. So either way, that can be used against him. So let's go to her being deceived about what is going on, and because she was going to live with him, they were going to get a house together, an apartment or whatever. And the statement of the injured person, UA, was corroborated with the resulting aspects from conversations. I'm in the house with the girls who work for G. AI said I will stay with G. And she says, I feel a little weird. And G said, you're probably coming in 5 days. It's too much. I wish you would have told me things are the way they are. See, no. I wish you'd tell me things like they are so I know what's going on. So, I mean, that's saying she doesn't know what's going on. In other words, it's not as you said. What exactly do these girls do? I thought I was coming and we would be together. I understand that that things happen, but you have to talk to me and tell me so that I don't feel weird then. And then he says, you don't have to feel weird. I come home as fast as I can. You know I work. Baby, what are these girls doing anyway? I feel stupid not knowing. I should know so I can talk to them and not say something stupid or offend them in any way. And he says, OnlyFans. So they undress and stuff, and then he kind of goes on to, minimize what they're doing, but we all know what that is. So then she goes on to say, I want to know why you brought me here to this house. If you respected me, you'd ask me first if I was okay with this. I thought I would come here and live with you. See, I mean, it's just completely opposite of what. It's a little weird for me to have to hang out with these girls who work for you, especially since you had a thing with one of them. You told me there was nothing between you two, and you take of her like a brother. She's in love with him, and she says, I love you. Aren't you safe? What the? I wanted you to leave London because of the way you behaved there. So what we have here is Andrew Tate admitting in these messages that he's engaged in illegal activity. We see the bait and switch that, come to Romania and I will be your man and we'll live together in peace and harmony. And we don't have any of that. But then it goes even a step further. Then the court. So what I'm reading to you is this is in the court's order, and they talk about what's relevant here. B asked me if I wanted to go live with her on TikTok. What did you say? And Andrew Tate says, why not? What is it? It's just TikTok. Do it. It's simple. Yes? She says, yes. Cool. Okay, we'll see. And then he says, you need a Russian name. And I see her bouncy breasts and cute smile on TikTok. Baby, why did she ask me if I wanted to make a fake TikTok account? And then she says, I don't want to work for her. I don't. What? Yesterday she came home and asked if I wanted to go live with B again, and told her I could come in for support. Not like that. So the issue here is not just that, she's not capable of making a decision, but she's recruited, she's deceived, and now she's sort of trapped, right? He goes on to promise her a house and a life with him, basically. It's a slow burn, right? Because he's promising her all this stuff, and then it slowly changes. You can do TikTok, and we can put on some girls together and get help with my business. OnlyFans only if you want to do it. I will never ask you. And then she says, see, I heard you are the one running the girl business. And she says, OnlyFans and TikTok. T and G are, but I lead them. And then we talk a little bit. I need you in my team to do what G tells you. So, but then you read in the court's order just a little bit further, and I know this is getting kind of a little bit tedious, but this all kind of makes sense in the end when we wrap this up. The circumstances that the injured person was not allowed to leave that house unaccompanied also resulted from her conversations with the defendant, Andrew Tate, through the WhatsApp application. So this is from the injured person, AU. We had breakfast and we talked with my sister. I just talked to Y, and she told me that there was something between you two. I want to do my exercises, send some emails, read the Bible, and maybe go to town later. And A, what are you doing? And E says, well, E is Andrew Tate. Yes, go to town only with someone else, not alone. And he says, I'm still working. I try to get home as fast as I can. Girls don't go to town alone when they are married, which is BS. This is just another way to control her. And AU says, tomorrow we might go to the botanical garden with the girls from Ukraine. And he says, who we? It's also Women's Day. Who we? Me and them. The two girls. No, I'll go with you. I'll go with you, B, Jasmine, or Geo. I don't trust those. And he says, I don't trust those Ukrainian women. So he's really dictating who she can go with. Don't go anywhere without any one of the three. And she said, and Gio, that Georgiana, she's the one that's controlling everything, and she's his right hand, and she's the one that really she needs to be under that control, so she doesn't either abscond or tell anybody anything else. Then she says, "Why are you so cold to me?" He says, "No, go out alone. Don't go out alone without telling me. Of the mall, supermarket, nowhere. From now on. I told you I want to go alone. This is the last warning." So later on, and then there's a comment about Tristan. She stated that she's very afraid of the defendants, TT and AT. They threatened to publish her real name, her parents' name, the phone number she uses, because they have done this before and will do it again. So we're gonna publish on a YouTube post so that you can kind of take a look at the document. This is just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, I've only gone through a few pages. This order is 88 pages long. And if you don't think for 1 minute that there isn't a shit ton of evidence against Andrew Tate, you're sadly mistaken. If you're one of the losers that he calls losers, in your Cheeto-stained underwear in your parents' basement, wake up. Absolutely wake up and realize that this guy doesn't give a flying fuck about anybody else but himself. Period. End of story. And when he says, we're innocent, you've got it right here. You got admissions, and there's more admissions. So we'll continue to peruse through this. But I wanted to just give you guys, and you know what? Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of Andrew Tate, but if I were his lawyer, I would certainly be looking at this like thinking we're kind of got a mountain to climb. He's got a huge mountain to climb in this, and there's a lot of evidence that's damning on him. A lot. And it bothers me, and this always bothered me from the very beginning, that, this duplicitous nature of him, I'm this guy, and he's really having contempt for his own people. And all this was just a cover for other illegal activity. So, and you have these girls being trafficked. There's no question in my mind that these girls are being trafficked. Force, fraud, or coercion. And so he's looking at a boatload of prison time, not to mention all the other crimes like money laundering, tax evasion, and drugs if he was selling drugs. And my guess is he probably was. And he talks about the underworld connections that he has. And so this is just our little reaction to Andrew Tate and the court order coming from his appeal. And it's 88 pages long. So you take a look at it and try to show me where I'm wrong, because I'm not. So we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you sign up for Patreon, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.